Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted. The adventure is done, the XP's been calculated, you're ready to level up, but wait. Jump down in the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So we have a GM911 from Dakota, and he has a question about leveling up between adventures as players gaining levels and actually having to do some training to make that happen. And he wants to make it more interesting.
He wants to make it more interesting. He wants it to take time so that it's not like, oh, I went out for a day and a half, I did this thing, and I come back and I've, doubled in power.
I have a couple recommendations. Second to fourth level, 10 days, about 20 gold pieces for each of the levels. 5th through 10th, 20 days, 40 gold pieces. 11th through 16th, 30 days, 60 gold pieces. 17th through 20th, you're getting up there, it's a little harder, 40 days, 80 gold pieces. Is the way you could do it. So apparently DMG Downtime, page 131, actually has the rules for training to gain levels. So that in itself, so there's the bare bones mechanics of it, right? This part doesn't make it more exciting or better per se, but that would give you the mechanics. Now, if you want to make it more exciting and more interesting, you can do that as well. That part is actually fairly easy in my opinion. Creating colorful NPCs that they have to interact with and train with. You could even do some scenes with them if you wanted to, not between each session, but before the beginning of each session after they've leveled up.
Now, in the player's handbook, it's got a section on learning new languages and learning new tool proficiencies. And there, it's like, it can take you 250 days, and it's a gold piece a day. And you could use some of that kind of stuff because it talks about possibly requiring checks. So if you literally use this kind of thing in a DMG where you've got a gold piece value a day to train, and if you don't pass your check that day, well, then you didn't learn it. You gotta keep going. So you've got to have so many successful training, and don't go too crazy with it. But I think you could stretch that out. I think after a certain point in your training process, of leveling process, you're gonna have to find a new trainer. It's not like you're walking into a town and there's 20th level fighters and 20th level wizards waiting there.
Every tier, they breaks it down to 4 different tiers basically, and I would say it would be each tier will require a different trainer to get you to the next one. So that could be a little quest in itself. And if you have a bunch of adventurers, that could be 6 quests, right? Just to find the next person, or maybe they need to really find an adventuring guild or some other kinds of guilds, and you could also give them other benefits too, by of having membership in these guilds or associations. Maybe that cost also covers, well, in their town they can hang out there, they can get lodgings there. It creates it creates these taverns full of basically like adventurers or people that are more experienced.
So this would allow for several different options. Number one, you could be able to trade off gear, like loot and that kind of stuff that you found either through random rollings or what have you, that the party just doesn't need. So you could find a way to allow them to trade out if there's people that are of the same kind of level. You could have quest givers in that particular area. Perhaps a lower level adventurer wound up having their party kidnapped or attacked, and they want someone to go out and do it, and well, they're certain that the bad guys have some kind of treasure and they can spout off what was there, so that it's not the quest giver that's actually providing the loot, but providing the quest, and the loot's already out there. So there's a number of different advantages that you can go throughout doing this, as well as the fact that it's a cool niche area for role-playing.
There's also the idea of maybe the player would have to give back too. So 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, they've got to train other adventurers to do what they do.
Nice.
They got to bring up the underclassmen and basically pay their dues that way as well. So I actually it's a great idea. You're gonna create a plethora of interesting NPCs. The other thing too though is like I would kind of want to do this if my players were interested in it. Like if they had no interest in playing this style of game and having to go through this every time they gain a level, and they treat it more like a hassle and they don't have fun with it, you may not want to incorporate it in your game, or you may want to look for some middle ground where the players are like, okay, that's kind of cool, and you get to kind of make it a little more complex than it is. That's going to be a key thing. There's also the downtime rules from Unearthed Arcana, which has some stuff in there that you could pick out. Like you could even go through to the foil section, and you could like pull the foils into like the organizations, whether they're actually part of the organization or they are from a rival organization or someone outside the organization that just doesn't like it. Like in some ways I would look at things like Harry Potter and Hogwarts, right? And go, that would be a good example of some place where the character might have to go to train. Also, the Alara series, they had these academies, and the academy would be a good place for training as well. So I would look at examples from existing fiction and see if I couldn't pull that into my world. Eberron probably has a couple places that you could definitely use for ideas like that, or like literally if you're playing in Eberron for the training, like if they're a member of the Dragon Marked House, they would have to go there for their training. There's the Kornenberg Library, which would be another great place. So there's definitely like settings themselves might have this built into it. If you're playing Forgotten Realms, maybe the cleric or the wizard has to go to Candle Keep or someplace and level up there, as they get higher levels. If you're going to do like TED setting, require skill checks to get through your training, and it's going to cost more money every time you have to do a skill check, whether you pass or fail. The only thing I would add to that is I would cap it. So right. It's like, if they have like a series of bad rolls, they're not going to go broke before they can gain a level.
So the other suggestion that I would put forth is you could look at the old editions on how druids did things, where you had circles and okay, you do tests and challenges as you gain levels, but then as you get higher up, you literally have to dispose the guy above you in order to get that level. Now you might not have to go that kind of crazy, but what if you did a literal challenge event where, all right, each character is going to get some solo play at 5, 10, 15, and 20 in order to get to those kind of levels, and you have these challenges that you create, and you, like, let's say you make 3 challenges, but you do like 5 or 6 of them prepared for each archetype, I guess you could say. And then what you'd be able to do is you'd be able to pick randomly so that the players don't know which ones that they're going to actually have to face, so that they can't be completely prepared for everything that's going to be there. And have fun with it, and try to make it a memorable situation. You could do the regular training for the other levels, but have those markings represent something. And once you've passed, it's not only, okay, yes, you got your level, but it's also a mark of status for anyone that's in those areas. So if you're a fighter and you are now level 5, and then you've got your first bar or whatever have you, and you display it, you wear it openly, and anyone who would be a fighter would have recognition of what that would mean, and they would treat you with more respect because you've passed that particular marker.
Yeah, I feel like you would use this in a world where there's a lot of organizations, right? And you'd really want to highlight that aspect in your world. Now, that being said, you're not going to want to just spring this on your players. This is something you have to bring up in session 0 at the beginning of the campaign. They should know what they're getting into. They should know that just getting enough XP isn't going to be enough. That that you're going to add that you're going to use these rules, and it might be a pain in the ass for them to go from level 1 to level 2 and so forth and so on, and they might just not be interested. So they should have the opportunity to opt out of that game before it gets rolling, and not be like, oh, you gained a level. I gained a level. I'm changing my character sheet. Oh, no, you're not. First, you have to go find your Pokemon trainer, and then he's going to have to work you out for 30 days or 10 days or whatever it is, and then you're going to have to pay for that as well. So, and then the other thing is too, you really have to make sure you're supplying enough gold for them to advance through the levels, because that would really suck. Be like, sorry, you're short 3 silver pieces. Damn it! I knew I shouldn't have stopped at the tavern on the way to training.
So absolutely make sure that everybody is really in on this. I think you could have a lot of fun with it if you pick and choose through the ideas that we've put out here, and not just be like, I'm going to use them all.
Yeah, I think it would be a valuable tool and a lot of fun for world building or for fleshing out NPCs that are interesting to your players. The question is, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can tweet at us at Twitter. You can tweet at us at Nerdarchy
On Twitter.
on Twitter.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.